Tonight is an episode like no other. First, Law and Order Organized Crime. We'll discuss the ins and outs of this hit new show, plus a sit-down interview with one of its stars. Then, a recap of the premiere of Big Brother 23. And finally, a sneak peek into next week's all-new special guest episode. And it all begins right now. Good evening and welcome to the CJ Unedited podcast. This is a special recap episode, and my name is James Hanson, and I am joined today by Chrissy McNamara. Chrissy, how are you this evening, and what are you drinking?
I am pretty good. I'm a little tired, but I'm hyped for this episode. There's a lot going on, and this is kind of boring, but I'm drinking water tonight.
No way, so am I.
Hydration. I didn't have time for my... Did you change your shirt?
Yes, I did.
We love
you weren't supposed to say anything, but it's fine. It was supposed to look like it was pre-filmed, but oh well. Everyone's got to think it is. Chrissy, how's your week been?
Not too bad. We took the puppy swimming on Tuesday. Her first time in a pool. She was pretty scared, but she swam to the steps and just worked at the shop today. It was kind of a long day. Working the shop tomorrow and Saturday and watched Big Brother last night. So
yeah, we'll talk more about Big Brother. I know there was a lot, and that was a epic entrance or opening for Big Brother. But I'm going to talk about, I guess it's time to talk about myself. No, it's been a good week for me. I just worked. That's really it. Yeah. I worked every day, and I'm house sitting 2 cats. So I've been doing that a lot. Other than that, no, I've been just working and having a blast.
Period.
But we do have a lot to discuss tonight. So I guess we should just get into it since, trust me, it is a lot. We are first going to be talking about the Law and Order Organized Crime, Season 1. Guys, there will be spoilers. So if you have not watched, sorry. We're going to give a lot away. Also, I will say that when I was sitting here trying to recap this, the first 4 episodes, I have 10 bullet points with a lot of verbiage. And then it was episode 5 when I finally figured out how to actually recap an episode. Thank you to Wikipedia. But we also do have some clips that we're going to be showing that will just really input how impactful this season was and how just different it was for Law and Order in general. Chrissy, am I blurry to you?
Not really. I mean, my computer's always blurry. Y'all see my camera.
Okay.
You see what I do.
Maybe it's just my eyesight, and maybe I'm just very, very blind. Okay, no. Well, hold on. Oh, nope.
Hey.
Okay, there we go.
Hey.
Okay. Well, I'm so sorry, guys. All right. So, Chrissy, Law and Order Organized Crime. Should I go ahead and kind of give everyone a back synopsis of this story, of this show?
Sure. I mean, it would definitely be useful if they haven't seen the one from SVU.
Okay.
I found that from SVU really helpful to set it up because of the baggage that Stabler brings into the season. So
NBC released a brief synopsis. So I'm going to read what NBC said. So this is pretty much NBC's little background and preview for this show. Detective Elliot Stabler, former member of the Special Victims Unit and ex-partner of Captain Olivia Benson, returns to the NYPD to battle organized crime after a devastating personal loss. However, the city and police department have changed dramatically in the decade he's been away, and he must adapt to a criminal justice system in the midst of its own moment of reckoning. Stabler joins the new task force taking on NYC's most powerful crime syndicate, a case that has become deeply personal for him, all while trying to rebuild his life, his family, and his career as a police officer. So, I think we should just start, shouldn't we? Guess we should just
let's pop into it.
And let's begin.
In the nation's largest city, the vicious and violent members of the underworld are hunted by the detectives of the Organized Crime Control Bureau. These are their stories.
Dun dun!
Not me typing dun dun in the chat when I thought it was coming.
So, we actually start organized crime in SVU during Return of the Prodigal Son. And Return of the Prodigal Son is the backdoor pilot to organized crime. And for anyone who doesn't know what a backdoor pilot is, it is a term used for an episode of a currently running show that serves to introduce a spinoff. Backdoor pilots mainly focus on an existing character who's going to have its new show. So, for example, in this one, it's Elliot Stabler. So the episode starts off with Olivia Benson pretty much getting a call that she has to go to a car bombing where the victim turns out to be Elliot Stabler's wife, Kathy. It was, I think, one of the greatest opening scenes of Law & Order SVU, because you see Liv seeing Stabler's wife on the stretcher, and then you hear Elliot Stabler go, "Liv." And she turns around, and for the first time in 10 years, she sees Stabler standing there. So I'm going to go through this a little bit quick just so we can get through all 9 episodes. But they end up finding the suspect, and Olivia allows Stabler to interview him, which is against protocol. And they end up going, after this scene, because Kathy Stabler wakes up. And so we have Kathy Stabler and Elliot Stabler and Olivia Benson all in the hospital room. And at one point, Kathy just says, hey, I want to sleep. So Olivia and Stabler leave, and we get a scene that brought closure to all Law & Order fans, because Benson sits down with him in the waiting room and says, "You are the single most important person in my life." To which Stabler replied, "I know. I was afraid that if I heard your voice, I wouldn't have been able to leave." And I believe I think that hinted at them having a deeper relationship than people thought.
I find this relationship so compelling for like slightly personal reasons. Like, it's just their connection, like outside of his marriage, and they're just super connected, and I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
So something that I love about this episode is that no one on the SVU team knew why Stabler was in New York City. I think that's just to keep the mystery alive of people who are just watching Law & Order. But we learned he was actually in New York to be a witness for a trial, and he was going to go attend Olivia Benson's award ceremony. And that he was starting up with a new task force. Was it organized crime? Who knows? They end up finding a connection to the bomb by a guy named Sasha Linsky. But we find out that he might be able to walk due to a rich new lawyer. So the bond ended up killing Stabler's wife, and she died due to a ruptured spleen. Wow, I couldn't even say spleen. Due to a ruptured spleen from the accident. The biggest twist of the show, though, was that Linsky was then found dead in his jail cell, which leads the SVU team to actually be taken off the case. And then we finally end the episode with Elliot figuring out who Sasha Linsky is connected to. So the biggest question asked there was Stabler the target of the show? And I don't know. What are your thoughts of the episode?
I thought it was I'm glad that I watched that before I actually started watching like the first season of Organized Crime, because it put in perspective his like motivation for doing everything that he does and why he's so like passionate about it. And then also, like I mentioned, the relationship between Benson and Stabler, which I think is going to be, we're going to touch on it more later, but I just really appreciate a show like, I don't want to say normalizing, but showcasing a relationship like this. And yeah, I thought it was good.
I just want to be, for anyone who's joining in, I just want to say the reason why we're doing the recap before we have the interview with Nick is me and Chrissy really deep talk a lot about stuff that happened in the show with Nick. So we kind of wanted to do this recap first. That way, you know what is going on before we actually move into the interview. Something that I loved about this show, about this last episode, was the use of flashbacks from seasons past of SVU. Plus, Chrissy, I know you don't know this, but all of the kids minus Eli, which you haven't met yet, are the original cast, or the original people who were cast in the roles as his kids. So, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
We eventually move into Organized Crime, episode 1, What Happens in Pagula. So, Chrissy, something that you didn't get on Hulu, but we did while watching on television, was a seamless transition from Law and Order SVU to Law and Order Organized Crime. There was no opening narration. There was nothing. It literally went from him in the church cell, the church with his kids, into him in the courthouse, walking down to the gang members that he was actually there to testify against. And that was kind of cool, because then all of a sudden, after that, this happened. And that is how we knew that we were in Organized Crime. Like, they never did the narration. It just went straight into that, and I thought that was really cool. So this episode, we get introduced to a majority of the whole cast. We get introduced to the Bell Stabler Task Force, so I'm going to say who they are, who they're played by. Anya Bell, who is played by Danielle Tuitt. Elliot Stabler, of course, by Christopher Maloney. Judd Slitemacher is played by Ansley Zeger. Freddie Washburn, played by Ben Chase. Diego Morales, played by Michael Riviera. And Gina Capoletti, played by Charlotte Sullivan. Then we also have the Wheatley family. So we have Richard Wheatley, who's played by Dylan McDermott. Angela Wheatley, who's played by Tamara Taylor. Dana Whitley, who's played by Christina Karas. And Richie Wheatley Jr., who's played by Nick Cregan. And like I said, we will be interviewing Nick Cregan tonight, so that's kind of cool. But this episode takes place 1 week after the death of Kathy. The SVU had found a burner phone whose Stabler is able to get tracked by Slitemacher's, which has led to a warehouse owned by Manfred Sinatra. And they were able to search the place because they had reason to believe that there was illegal selling of PPE and COVID-19 vaccines. Where we also find out in this that Rafi the poet was killed there. We then transition to Detective Elliot Stabler talking to Angela Wheatley, who is Rafi the poet's mother. But this also leads us to find out that Rafi was also the grandson of Manfred Sinatra, which is really a shock because Manfred Sinatra and they portray him as a racist in the show. He does not like African American people, which is comes to be a shock because half of his entire family is mixed or African American. But we also learned that Rafi is the adopted son of Richard Wheatley and the brother of Richie Wheatley. And we also find out that Rafi was hired by Richard. Richard Wheatley is the mob boss, I guess, of the criminals who are illegally administrating the COVID-19 vaccines. So at the same time, we find out that Stabler is assigned to the Organized Crime Task Force, which is led by Anya Bell, and they are trying to hunt down Richard Wheatley. So he hasn't come face to face with Richard Wheatley yet. And Stabler finds out that Angela Wheatley was married to Richard, and Richard Wheatley took Angela's last name. So Richard wanted to have anything to do with his father. While he's there talking to Angela Wheatley, there is a drive-by shooting that happens, which we later to find out that was orchestrated by Richard Wheatley. And the very end of the episode ends with Stabler receiving a text to meet Sinatra at the Coney Island Wonder Wheel. But when he gets there, it's too late because Richard has shot and killed his father, Manfred Sinatra. The episode ends with Stabler calling in the shooting, running into his apartment, and running by Olivia Benson. What were your thoughts on this very first episode?
When it ended, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Like, woo! It was definitely a whirlwind. It was a lot because I'd never seen the show before, and from what I understand, a lot of the other episodes in like SVU and past seasons are like not a linear. I know we talk a little bit about that with Nick, but not like
they're episodic. So
thank you. What is this
episodic?
Called?
Episodic, and so SVU and all its predecessors are episodic. Organized Crime is a single story arc, so the entire season is one whole story. Okay. Instead of having an episode that has a beginning, a middle, a climax, and an end, this one has a beginning. The climax could be episode 4, 5, or 6, and then the ending could be in episode 8.
So I kind of like it like this because it allows you to spend more time with these characters. Because I, for one, when I watch TV, like I get very attached to characters. I always predict who my favorite character is, that they're gonna die, but we'll get to that. Yeah, I found the beginning of this really interesting because of I think Angela is a very complex character. It seems like she's wants to be a good person, but then she's always seems to be caught up in whatever Richard is doing. I'm really curious as to like what role she had in the death of her son, like if she knew anything about it, if she helped orchestrate it, and like what her motivations were for this. So
see, that's also what I have, because I even wrote down, I want to know if Angela has or knows anything about Rafi's death, which at this point I don't think she does. But the question that I still want to know is who killed Kathleen Stabler? Which then brings us into episode 2, Not Your Father's Organized Crime. Very catchy that they put the title of the show in the title.
Isn't there like a alcoholic root beer, Not Your Father's root beer? Anyway,
it's Not Your Father. So this scene picks up at the scene of Sinatra's murder. It's followed by a dinner scene where Richard finds out that Sinatra is dead. But he doesn't show any emotion. I wonder why. And he tells all of his friends that he's holding a vaccination party. Before the opening credits roll, a truck full of the COVID-19 vaccine is robbed. Is he the reason behind it? And for the first time, Stabler and Richard Wheatley, come face to face. before Slutmacher discovers that Wheatley usually invests in tech companies. But for some reason, he bought the Law and Order version of Dippin' Dots.
Nitro.
He bought Nitro Nibbles. And when I first heard that, I had to rewind and listen to it again. But
I thought you had nipples too.
these tasty treats need to be stored at the same temperature as the COVID-19 vaccine. So they were, and they found out that there was a Nitro Nibbles truck in the vicinity of the robbery. Yet by the time they get to the location, the vaccines are gone, and they wonder if if Richard Wheatley was tipped off. Olivia and Stabler meet, and it is there, and this later on in this episode, it is there that he is told by Liv that she believes he has post-traumatic stress disorder from witnessing his wife's death. Stabler then the next scene, Stabler goes undercover on an undercover date to find out who some doctors are that can help him jump the line to get the vaccine sooner, because they are trying to take down the illegal crimes that are happening. So I love how there's multiple storylines going on in one episode that all kind of have to do with each other. Also in this episode, we finally get to meet Gina Capoletti, who is one of my favorite characters. She meets Richard Wheatley Jr., and due to her meeting him, she unofficially becomes a part of the task force because she's friends with Anya Bell. Richard tries to bond with Richie over the family empire, but Dana tries to convince Richie that is not worth it. That is not worth it. I don't remember who planted a bug in Richard Wheatley's office, but someone on the task force did, and we'll get to that in the next episode. Stabler does find a doctor who is able to give him a COVID-19 shot, but before he gets it, the task force sweeps in and arrests every single one of them, from the doctor to the patients. The doctor for illegally distributing the vaccine, and the patients for bypassing the governor's order of who deserves the vaccines first.
I don't think those patients were going to get arrested until they gave him attitude. Anyway.
I don't think so either. But once they gave him attitude, he was like,
entitled white women. They were like, "Oh my God, you're taking the doctor away." Anyway, go ahead.
Belle takes Stabler out to dinner, where she finds that Stabler was the person who called in Sinatra's murder and took the phone. This is when we get the perfect dialogue, and I think the start of the actual true friendship between Stabler and Anya Bell. So I will play this because this is just the best lines from them.
I think I'm about to say something that might cost me my job.
Then don't say it.
Well, there's no respect to that honesty, so... The night he was murdered, Manfredi Sinatra reached out to me, claiming to know who killed my wife. He told me to meet him on Coney Island at the Wonder Wheel.
Stabler,
I'm the one who found his body.
Don't.
I called it an anonymous.
Stop. Stop talking. No, you are not about to tell me that you took his cell phone. Because if you told me that, I would have to arrest you.
Copy that.
Hello.
But if you did take it, I know you gave it to Slutmacher. Told her to get every bit of evidence off of it so we can nail the son of a bitch who did this to your family.
You guys good?
I'm great.
We're good.
What I think that is a perfect little scene, because you finally you see her finally realize that he may be just a little bit of a dirty cop, but if it helps her task force, she's willing to go for it. On the way home, though, at the very end of the episode, Stabler sees his son Eli about to get jumped, and so he tells Eli to go inside and takes a pretty nasty beating, including a Glock to the side of the head. But before he gets hit, he gets a look at the gun that the person is using. And we end and fade out on Stabler laying in the middle of the street, bloody and bruised. So what did you think? Like, what was your overall aspect of this?
I feel like this one was, I mean, I like of the series, maybe this was like it was still pretty good, not as good as the first one, but
yeah.
With this one, there's a lot of unanswered questions that I still want answers for, like, you know, where are we going with the investigation on Kathy? And there's a little bit I wanted to see, maybe like, well, a little bit more of the Olivia Stabler dynamic, but we do see it to some degree. One thing that I thought was interesting was, it's not really like plot related, but like with the COVID vaccine and this being like centered around the time of COVID, like they have all these extras wearing masks in the background, and then like all the main characters just like randomly are not wearing them ever.
You know, it's funny.
And they're just out in the middle of the pandemic, like all together.
I know my dad is watching this, and that is exactly what he said when he very first watched this season. He goes, "Huh? So the cops in the background are wearing masks,
Yeah,
but they're not." But what you do notice, and if you actually pay attention throughout a lot of these episodes, is that the actors, the characters themselves, are either holding their mask or taking off their mask, and like they always have a mask with them, because that was shown when Richard and Stabler met. Richard was holding his mask. Stabler has ripped off his mask when he's going into his office. So there's a lot. I really love Gina. When we find out that Gina is this wholehearted, this nice woman who she's undercover as a CI in a bar that Richard Wheatley starts to take. And later on tonight, you'll actually get to see the interaction between Richie Wheatley and Gina, because they become a thing.
Gina has such like a calming voice, and is just like, you look at her and you're like, why, like, you're too innocent for this.
So I do want to ask, like, if you guys watched Organized Crime, what were your thoughts? Give us some of your guys' inputs, because we may have missed things that you guys saw, or you guys may have saw things that may have missed stuff that we saw. But give us your input. We want to know. Something that I'm really kind of sketched out about Morales and Freddy, the new additions to the task force, because they just kind of show up out of the blue.
Morales is shady, yeah.
Morales is shady. Freddy just, it's about the I want to say niblets. It's about the nibbles, like the nibbles.
Like your nibbles.
Yeah, like he literally was like, "Oh well, Frozen, your dad buys you the entire company," and like you could tell that Stabler was kind of rubbed the wrong way about it. But yeah, like guys, if you guys have any input on any of these episodes, put them, reach out, like put them on the chat. We will put them on the screen and people can talk. If you guys are watching on Facebook or on either our Facebook, message Christy or I. We have our phones, we have our Facebooks up. We can like definitely tell you guys. I was gonna say something completely different, then nothing's coming out. We can just definitely talk about your guys' views. Episode 3 is Say Hello to My Little Friends. We start off with Stabler trying to tell Anya Bell and Lieutenant Marv moaning what happened with the fight outside of his place. It's hard to tell if he has a concussion from the beating or he's playing dumb to hide information. We jump to Wheatley's office, where he is discussing a certain real estate deal with a man by dunking him in a fish tank with a live octopus. But the guy says he's going to take care of the real estate deal, but live octopus. Hold on to that thought. The same time, we move to Belle's apartment, where she is in bed with her pregnant wife, Denise. Belle explains that she has to get to work because she knows Stabler's attack was motivated by Richard Wheatley. While that's happening, Kathy Stabler stops by to see her father and her brother, and she finds out that her dad, for less of a better terms, is a hot mess.
Right.
He can't sleep. He has nightmares. He's scaring his son. And she begs him to get help and to get onto some medication, but he just won't do it because he keeps saying that he's fine. The OC, the organized crime team, finds out who the guy is who almost got beat to death by the octopus. Turns out he's a real estate developer for Virginia, and they've got a body in Virginia with a bullet that matches the ballistics for the bullet they pulled out of Winfried Sinatra, the same gun. On the trip, Stabler confesses that it was a beating by Wheatley, and Stabler also tells Belle that he knows that she's gay. When they arrive in Virginia, they're fully expecting to find the real estate guy lying on the slab in the morgue, but it's some woman neither of them have seen. It is a woman that Wheatley had killed, so all of his internet history would be remained a secret because she's the only one who knew of what he's been up to. At the same time, Angela Wheatley, we later on we move forward to Angela Wheatley and Stabler, who meet at a grocery store, and she informs him that Richard is having a vaccine event. Are these the stolen vaccines?
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. But we're going to keep going on. We're going to go on to episode 4 real quick. And then we are, I mean, hey, episode 4, we have a scene that really, I think this one is kind of a big deal for viewers because this is the episode in this show where we get a moment that we have been waiting for years to hear as fans. And this.
Elliot, tell us what you need.
I love you. I love all of you. I don't think I can do this.
I love you. Stabler literally admits to having feelings for her. It's also in this episode that Gina, our girl Gina,
Queer.
plants a bug in Richard's wine cellar to help out the task force. We are finally also getting somewhere, Chrissy. We know now that it was Kathy who was supposed to be bombed in the killing, because Stabler finds a couple who are taking a photograph, and he able to zoomed in by TV magic to see Sasha Linsky in the background. So Sasha Linsky knew that it was Kathy in the vehicle. This is where I started getting a little bit better at recapping quicker. Episode 5, An Inferior Product. After a failed drug bust ends with an informant dead and an attack by a corrupt NYPD officer leaves Belle's nephew hospitalized, Stabler works with Benson to investigate. Wheatley orders a hit on a gang replicating his drug called Purple Magic, and one of the survivors is implicated in supplying the drugs that killed Benson's half-brother Simon earlier in SVU. Elliot then learns in this episode that Angela Wheatley arranged the hit on Kathy Stabler. We have an answer. But why, Chrissy? Why do you think Angela did it?
I mean, based on further things we're going to talk about, I'm thinking that she's still somehow in cahoots with her husband and he's got something to do with this. Also, I think I can't remember if this was the episode, but one of these were the episodes where Benson like tells off that criminal because he made the drugs that killed him.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was savage.
Um,
It's such a good closure moment for her. But yeah, I don't know about Angela. I'm thinking that she's still like somehow in cahoots with him. I don't know.
So we move on from episode 5 into episode 6 called I Got This Rat. Angela is arrested for ordering the hit on Kathy Stabler, like we learned in the last episode. She tells Stabler that the reason she killed Kathy was because she believed that Stabler shot her son Rafiq dead in an anti-drug operation, and that she wanted him to suffer for what he did instead of killing him. She then blames Richard for deceiving her by telling her it was Elliot who was responsible for his son Rafiq's death, when in reality it was Richard who shot and killed him because he was ripping off Richard with his own version of purple magic.
Mm-hmm.
So plot twist: dad kills stepson and blames Stabler, who then gets his wife killed. Meanwhile, Dana, the daughter of Richard Wheatley, finds that Gina is an undercover cop and informs Richard.
No.
A furious Richard then instructs a reluctant Richie to kill Gina Capoletti. This next scene changed the entire portrayal of the entire rest of the season, in my opinion, for all of the characters. I gotta pull it up.
This is where we see Nick really
Conspiracy
pulling
theory.
the scene here.
Some crazy ass mind control experiments that went down over here. Like in Stranger Things, this is where they caught the idea.
You know what? I don't need to see the lighthouse.
This is my spot since I was a kid. I used to sneak away from my family and ride my bike over here, pretend I was a real badass.
Chrissy, this episode, this season, this scene just gets me.
That was
Oh
my
yeah,
fortress.
that ball.
Check it out. I know what you are.
What do you mean?
Richie, come on. Baby, what are you doing?
You don't have to pretend like you're feeling me like that anymore, Gina. What's your real name anyway?
My real name is Gina Capoletti. I've been undercover since I was 21, and they don't make you change your name. At first, it was just work, but then I got real feelings for you. I'm not pretending.
You're on video in the wine lair with my father. Should have known that there was video surveillance everywhere.
This part right here literally made me come to the edge of my seat.
Hey.
You work with us. Your father is a bad guy, but you are not. I know you're not a killer.
Good thing I am. It's okay, Richie. I'll take care of her. Go on back to the car.
Talk about my father? You made me look like a fool in front of him.
I wasn't trying to make a fool of you. I was doing my job.
Now I gotta do mine.
Okay, I have to stop. I can't watch that one because it gets me.
Not you making me rewatch that on air.
I'm sorry. But I played that a lot because that scene itself takes up a lot of time in our interview with Nick later tonight. So we just wanted you to see that scene in a full effect, so that when we talk with Nick, you know exactly what we're talking about. But we move on to episode 7. One of Richard's men shoots and kills Isaac Becker, the guy that was in the background there. Later telling Richie there cannot be a witness to him murdering Gina. Like I said, this episode, that death just changed the entire dynamic of the task force, of Anya Bell, of Elliot Stabler, everyone, because it was an actual member of their team, unfortunately. The task force sets up a sting with international arms dealer Gianluca Silvano, now an informant, making an illegal COVID-19 vaccine buy from Richard. When the buy goes as planned, Stabler and the task force move in to arrest Richard, his son, his men. But Richard escapes on a subway train, which has Stabler going after him. So we get a good about 10 minutes of a subway train fist fight gun show. Dana is arrested by NYPD officers at Richard's office, and some of Whitley's accomplices are all arrested as well. But Belle finds out in this episode that Richie has killed Gina because of his father. And fun fact, the body that they use when they remove the dirt off of Gina and the ground is the actual actress. They actually buried her alive.
Oh, really? Wow.
To portray that. But Richie gets confronted by Belle in his jail cell. And it's in this scene where you kind of see the change in a lot of our characters, because like I said, this show, it's centered on the Wheatley family as well. And so this show, you get a change in this jail cell with Richard and Anya and Stabler.
Hey, Richie, how you doing? We need to talk.
About what?
Well, what do you think? Sarge, what do you want to talk about?
Gina Capoletti.
Dad!
Richie!
Just tell us what happened.
I don't know.
I don't think it was your gun.
Dad!
Was it Isaac Becker's?
Ask him.
Oh, where is he?
I don't know.
Richie, don't say anything. Wait for your lawyer, okay?
Richie, we know you were there. I don't know. I don't know! Sarge. Hey, we don't do that. Let's just talk with a gentleman.
She wanted to protect you. Said you were messed up because of your father, but that you were a good kid. And you were incapable of hurting anyone. You did not deserve her kindness.
I show that scene because when we go into episode 8, he's already feeling that he lost someone that cared about him because of his father. But the Wheatleys are formally indicted in episode 8 for Get It, Jake, It's Chinatown. But not before all of the Wheatleys hear that Richard murdered the grandfather to all of his children. Wheatley approaches a U.S. attorney to have his case moved to a federal court, where he offers up all of his associates in exchange for a leniency. Kept under protection in a hotel during the trial, Angela Wheatley collapses in her shower. Her bath supplies are found to be poisoned from a narcotic agent, possible poison coming from Richard because of his I think it's because of his he knows that she's the one who set him up. Having to learn the truth about his grandfather, Richie contracts a hit on his father from prison, and it doesn't go as planned. Wheatley is only wounded, but is rescued by Stabler and Bell. And the they are, I don't know how to explain this. I'm confused. What do you mean? What happened? Someone posted. What do you mean? Someone just posted. What happened? I'm so confused. No, what do you mean? What happened?
It might have been the stream stopped for like a couple minutes. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I noticed it.
It did.
I turned the YouTube off. But are we back, guys? Can you let us know? Are we good?
Can you let us back? Are we back?
That might be what they're saying. Hold on, let me look on my phone. Just make sure we're still going. Okay, we appear to be here.
Are we here?
On YouTube, we are.
Oh, so I'll kind of restart this past. I don't know where we left off and where people got disconnected. This is our last episode of Law and Order: Organized Crime, and then we're going to have our interview play. But like I said, Richie is indicted. The entire family is indicted, but not before the Wheatleys find out that Richard murdered the grandfather of his children. Wheatley approaches a U.S. attorney to move his case to federal court, where he offers up all of his associates in exchange for leniency. Kept under protection in a hotel during the trial, Angela collapses in her shower due to her bath supplies being poisoned with a Novichok agent. I think it could be a possible poisoning coming from Richard because she testified against him. After learning about the hit on his grandfather, Richie contracts a hit on his own father out from prison, but it doesn't go as well because Wheatley is only wounded because Stabler and Bell rescue him. After being saved, he is taken to a U.S. attorney's office when Bell is honored by the NYPD for her work while under the pressure because her wife started to sue the NYPD for for hurting her nephew. At the same time, Richard Wheatley finally comes face to face with Olivia Benson, who Richard has been saying to Angela the entire time that there's another woman. Using a hidden cell phone while in jail, Wheatley arranges for Stabler and Benson to meet in the hospital where Angela is recuperating from her poisoning. Turns out, though, that Richard had hired a hitman or a helper who turns out to be none other than Detective Morales from the Organized Crime Task Force. He is then killed by Bell before he can actually shoot and kill her, but not before ejecting Angela with another poison, leading us to the final moment. Excuse me. Leading us to the final moment of the season with Stabler standing alone in the hospital hall, yelling and screaming for help. It ends on a cliffhanger. What was your ending? What was your thoughts to the ending of this season?
Morales was so shady from the beginning, and then like I haven't seen this character in so long, and then coming back and he's yelling at him he's like, "Hey, detective, is that you?" And I guess he was dressed up as a doctor or something, and he's yelling at him down the hallway. Super dramatic. Really want to know what happens next. The way to leave it on a cliffhanger, but that's how you keep the show rolling. I think the relationship between Angela and Stabler is also getting interesting. I know that they were I think they had kissed at one point or something like that. And I don't know if that was her trying to reel him in because she's still in cahoots with her husband. But I think he's got a little bit of emotional investment with her too. So seeing him right there with the two people he's feeling close to in that moment and being very dramatic. Overall, I really enjoyed this. For not ever having seen this show, there was a lot of good character development, and yeah, it was really good.
So I just found out that our stream was stop for just a moment because I was showing clips from Law and Order, which I thought I could do. So learn from next time. Even though we're talking about it, which I read that we can actually talk about it. But so it is time.
Hopefully
It's time. We have recapped the episode. So, Chrissy, we sat down with Nick Cregan, and I believe that it's time that we show everyone the episode, the interview. Nick was supposed to join us tonight, but due to a work scheduling conflict, he couldn't join us. And I'm still making sure that we're actually streaming, because I want to make sure. If we're streaming, can someone tell us we're on? Oh, we are streaming. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I have the YouTube up on my phone. It's fine.
All right, guys. Here is that interview from with us with Nick Cregan.
A gem.
Enjoy. Chrissy and I are about to sit down with Nick Cregan, who plays Richie Wheatley Jr. in Law & Order Organized Crime. Tonight, he's going to discuss his life, how he landed the role in his amazing show, and plus his take on organized crime itself. Just be forewarned, there will be spoilers. But for those of you guys who haven't watched Organized Crime yet, let's take a little peek on who we're going to be talking to tonight.
So, how long you been working here?
Long enough?
Long enough. Long hours. I'm sure you get hungry. How about dinner?
You don't even know my name.
Well, what's your name?
We're out of here, Richie.
Hey, remember me, all right? I'll be back. Matter of fact, you'll be seeing a lot of me around here. Best believe.
Gina. My name is Gina.
Okay, Gina.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nick Cregan. Nick, how are you tonight?
Hey, what's up, James? I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good.
Hey, Chrissy, how's it going?
Hi, it's going. What's happening? We're happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
So before we get into the actual interview, I just kind of wanted to tell everyone how this actually came about. So you actually posted a few photos of Richie in the jail cell after you got arrested. And I ended up messaging on there that your acting was so good that for a split second, I actually wanted to break you out of jail. And you replied back with what I believe was one of the best comments I've ever gotten, which was send bail money. And it was right then and there that I was like, okay, I have to ask him if he could come on, because this was just perfect gold for me. But I also wanted to say that before I told Chrissy that you were going to be on, she had never seen a single episode of Law and Order.
Not this.
So I wanted to ask, did you ever watch Law and Order before you landed the role?
Okay, can I be honest?
Yes.
I watched it after I found out that there was some interest in me. I watched like a full episode because I was like, okay, everybody has seen at least 5 minutes of Law and Order in their life.
Exactly.
If you own a TV, you've scrolled through the channels and you've seen at least some of Law and Order. But I had never watched a full episode before. So what I did was I Googled the best episodes of SVU, and I watched when Robin Williams was on there. I saw a few other episodes, like when Mariska, when she saved that young girl from that kidnapping ring, and she like saved her from the basement.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of the best episodes, quote unquote, but I'm kind of like Chrissy, where before I got the role, I wasn't watching it necessarily, no. And as an actor, I used to not watch as much network TV as you would expect an actor to watch, to be honest.
Well, I know you know that I'm obsessed with this, and Chrissy started watching it. I actually had to spoil her tonight so we could actually do this interview, but I know she loves it. But before we do, we just wanted to let everyone get to know you. And from what I've seen, you weren't always an actor. You actually
No.
did sports journalism.
Yes.
So,
Yes, I used to be a sports journalist. Yeah.
Like, what led you into acting? Like, what inspired you to change from that career field into acting?
Well, I had started acting like for fun when I was in college. I was a part of a theater group there, the Black Theater Productions group, and when I got on stage and I started to hear from my friends like, "Hey, Nick, you're actually kind of good at this," I was like, "Damn, like that's good to hear," and it also was a lot of fun. But I just never really saw it as a realistic career. I was like, what are the chances I'm gonna ever be on a major TV show or a movie? So I just focused on my main passion, which was journalism at the time. And when I was working at a particular place, AOL Sports, I had a chance to work with different athletes and comedy writers, and we would act in sketches together. Like comedy writers would write sketches for, myself and an actor that was playing Steph Curry's daughter, and I would, portray Steph Curry and, be able to quote unquote act, but it was still in a journalism realm because we would do interviews and that type of stuff as well. But after I kind of started to do acting again with journalism, I was like, I really do miss this portion of my life. I really would love to act again. I just didn't know how to get involved, and I didn't necessarily want to be a quote unquote struggling actor working at a restaurant. So
Great. Nice throwback. That's me. Okay.
I get it.
Hey,
That's like, I kind of just wanted to stick with the journalism career path because I was doing well in it. But then when I got laid off from one particular job, I kind of just started creating a lot of Instagram sketches and making videos on Instagram. And one day, after I'd gotten another job in the corporate world, this video I made on Instagram went viral, and Oprah Winfrey's writers from this particular show, David Makes Man, saw one of my Instagram videos, and they decided to tell casting to reach out to me to see if I wanted to audition for the show. And that's how I really started to get serious about acting. After I got that position, I pretty much decided that I was going to go full on into acting, and now we're here talking about Law and Order, which is crazy.
That's really good. And it's funny is that you mentioned David Makes Man, because I literally have in here like you were in David Makes Man and you've done Instagram sketches. So, but you're starring now in a franchise that has produced over 1,000 hours of television.
Yeah.
So like, tell us about how you like landed the role of Richie, because that's something like, I mean, for an actor like me, that's inspiration on how to get to audition and all that. So.
Yeah, I got the role of Richie by doing a traditional audition. I got a self-tape audition from my agent, and I read the role, and I was like, wow, this seems like a really cool role. I feel like I'd be able to nail this. I sent in my tape. I was in Peru, actually, and I was with my girlfriend in Peru, and we had our little tripod set up, but it was kind of non-traditional and unorthodox because we had forgotten a piece of the tripod, so we had to use iPhone charging cord to wrap around the phone to keep it still. And it was like a whole crazy production to do the actual self-tape. And after I sent that in, I kind of just forgot about it. I didn't expect, because I mean, as an actor, you do tons of auditions, and sometimes if you attach yourself to the role, you'll be disappointed when you find out you don't get it. So I kind of was just like, hey, I did my best. Leave it alone. And a few weeks later, I got an email saying like, hey, they're really interested in you. And then before you knew it, they told me that I had booked the role and they were sending over an offer.
Woo! But see, that's kind of cool though, but you also got Law and Order. You got a show that a lot of people probably just like dream of having, and then they can't even get. Because so what's it like working with like Christopher Maloney and Mariska and like even Dylan McDermott, because I'm a huge fan of Dylan McDermott, so that was kind of cool. But what's it like working with them?
It was awesome. I mean, everybody on set was super warm and inviting. Obviously, I'm one of the youngest people on set. A lot of people are veterans with Law and Order. I mean, Chris and Mariska, they've been in the Law and Order universe for years. Obviously, Chris took a 10-year break from it, but you know, working alongside of those veteran actors was nothing short of amazing. They, like Dylan McDermott, took me under his wing completely and treated me like a real son. It was really cool to have him play my dad, because off set he was giving me a lot of life advice, a lot of advice about acting, and it was just a really overall surreal experience, to be honest.
And there they are, father and son.
Yeah.
He was a better dad offset, probably.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so
Richard Wheatley, I wouldn't call a class act father.
Yeah.
So speaking of Richie, because you know Richie is the son, we get the backstories of most of the characters in Organized Crime, but I feel like the one we really don't get a whole lot about is Richie Wheatley Jr. So in your perspective, what is Richie's story?
So in my perspective, Richie is, you know, the typical kid who's trying to find his way. I mean, he's a young adult now. He has experimented with dad's money. He's gotten, you know, ideas, crazy ideas, whether it be starting a production company, managing artists, having a car service business. And his dad has seeded him money for this countless amounts of times. And this time around, his dad is like, look, you're turning 30. It's time for you to either fit into the family business or you're on your own. And Richie's kind of like, okay, well, I'm going to fit into the family business. I'm going to like start to learn the ropes. I'm going to start going with Dana on these meetings with my dad. But then as a young, attractive guy, he's used to getting women like kind of easily because he has all this money and he has all these things, but maybe not the necessarily right women. So he goes into this club, he meets Gina Capoletti, and he's like, oh my God, she's hot. She's working with these mobsters. She could probably help groom me into this guy who I'm trying to be. Let me try to take her out. Not realizing that Gina Capoletti is who she really is.
I'm sorry. That was, I didn't, and I'm going to personally say, I didn't think Richie had the guts to pull the trigger on her. And, you know, I thought Isaac had switched the gun. So I didn't think that, like, you actually were going to kill her. And I remember that night when that happened, everyone was just like, oh my goodness, they just did Gina dirty. They just killed her off. Like, what is going on? But
yeah.
Chrissy, do you have anything you want to ask him?
And Charlotte was she's such an awesome person. You know, working with her was so great. We would have so many laughs off camera and like make jokes with each other. She was great. But yeah, I was actually in shock when I found out that Gina was getting killed and that Richie was the one who was doing it. My mouth literally dropped when I read the script. I was like, oh my God. There was a mixture of excitement. There was a mixture of like sadness, because I'm like, damn, I'm not going to be able to work with Charlotte. But it kind of felt like it was Richie's episode. And I was just super excited to just go in there and give it everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Was that your first like on-screen kill?
No, I've killed somebody on screen before. So both characters I had played, David Makes Man and in Law and Order, I'd killed somebody.
So our next question was, after being cast as Richie, what was like the first thing you did to prepare for this role, or like to research? Like, what was your process of getting into this character?
I definitely watched some Law and Order, just to see what the vibe is. I tried to see some episodes with Christopher Maloney, you know, as Stabler before he left the show. Try to just get a vibe of that, but also like I feel like I've been preparing for this role my whole life, because my favorite movies are literally mafia movies. I mean, my favorite movie of all time is Goodfellas. My favorite TV show is The Sopranos. So I feel like I had already done all the research before I even did the audition. And when I saw the role, I was like, I kind of see him as Christopher Moltisanti from The Sopranos in a way. Mm-hmm. So I used Christopher as inspiration for this, and it was kind of second nature, you know. I mean, growing up, I'm also biracial. My father is Irish, my mom is Jamaican. So there were a lot of overlaps in some of the storyline with, you know, Richie's grandfather not necessarily being partial to Black people. my own grandparents were the same way. So it's like there were a lot of little nuances that I had already experienced in real life. So I was able to inject that into the character through my own experience.
That's awesome and super powerful.
Yeah.
We were also wondering, I think maybe you kind of touched on this when you were talking about Gina's, the end of Gina, but is there like a particular scene or episode that you remember filming more vividly due to your preparation on becoming Richie, or maybe one that was like more difficult, or just like a scene that stands out to you that you filmed?
I feel like the scene that stands out to me is when Richie is in the jail cell and Stabler and Detective Bell come in there and like start badgering him and start asking him about Gina's death. I feel like that scene for me was the most powerful scene that I was a part of in that show, and it was just a lot. I mean, doing 7 takes of that was taxing. You know, it was a lot, and you know, each take there were tears. Each take there was a lot of emotion, obviously. And it was also my first and only time sharing a screen with Christopher Maloney and Danielle as Officer Bell. So
it really is. I didn't think of that until you just said that. I never put that together.
Yeah, so that was to me the scene that will always stand out from that first season for me. Like, that was Richie's human moment. I feel like people wrote me and were like, oh my God, I felt so bad for him. Like, I hated him for killing Gina, but then I felt like this kid didn't even really know what he was doing when he did it, you know? Because now he's in this jail cell and he's being questioned and she's telling him Gina loved you, and he's like, I can't believe I did all of that just because of the pressure of my father, you know? That scene stands out.
It's like more humanizing.
Yeah.
To me, that's why I messaged you saying, like, for that split second,
well, it was that scene,
I was enwrapped in the show, and I was like, oh, I need to get him out. And they go, this is a show. He's just like, it's not real.
And I don't respond to obviously it's hard to respond to every single person that comments. And it's like, when I saw your comment, I found it funny, and I was just like, let me just, you know, make a joke. And then, you know, you wrote me and you asked me to be on your podcast, and I'm like, I used to have a podcast. I mean, I wasn't always acting on a huge show. Like, I know what it's like to reach out to people blindly and hope that they write back. So,
and that's what I was telling Christy. I said, there's only 3 things that they could say. They could say, no, I'm busy, or come back to me later, or yes. And I remember being out, and I got that message, and I literally went, holy crap. Like, I literally showed my phone to my boss, and I was like, he said yes. Like, this is cool. But
yeah,
no, I think one of the scenes that I really saw you and your character just change is when that moment, I think it was in the jail cell. I think that's when it kind of clicked in your head, like, I can't live under my father. And then when you got put in jail, that's when because I even put on Instagram, I was like, Nick out here knowing the truth. No, Richie out here knowing the truth. And then you put that hit up for your father. So that was just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was intense too, to know that Richie would put out a hit on his dad. I was like, wow, it's getting real.
So I got 2 more. We got 2 more questions. But I wanted to ask, since Organized Crime is a single arc storyline, so that it takes the entire season, unlike its predecessors, do you think that kind of changes the show up just a little bit, or
like the show up in terms of like Law and Order itself?
Yeah, because every episode of Law and Order is episodic besides this season, I feel like.
I think it just creates a new umbrella for Dick Wolf and the Law and Order family. I feel like for whatever reason they chose to keep it the way it was for all these years, and then they decided to try this, and now they're realizing that people love it. I mean, people love to follow a storyline, and who knows if that decides to leak into SVU, and now they're going to start doing that with SVU. I'm not sure, but for Organized Crime, based on the response from the fans and the ratings, like, it really worked. So I think they found like a really good formula to keep it going, for sure.
So speaking of that, and like wrapping this up, like, what were your thoughts on the finale, and where do you see Richie going in season 2? If you're in season 2, and if you can actually talk about it, but if you can't, like, where do you
He's
see your
smiling like he
people?
can't say it.
I can say this. I felt like Richie had a lot of pressure on him to survive in prison, and I think once he found out that his father had hit on his grandfather, he realized that if you can kill your own father, like, what loyalty do you have to anybody? So I think at that moment, Richie just pretty much did what he had to do. They left it on a cliffhanger, so I mean, it will be very interesting to see what happens next.
So Nick, thank you so much for coming and sitting down with us. Is it okay if we put out your Instagram and Twitter handle so people can go ahead?
Totally fine.
So if you guys want to follow Nick, his Instagram and Twitter is at Nick Cregan. And again, thank you for doing this. Like, we actually just binge watched the entire series. And so to be able to talk to someone who from the show who actually lived it was amazing. But for everyone else, you guys can catch Law and Order Organized Crime. The first 8 episodes are on Hulu right now. And Organized Crime will be returning this fall on Thursdays on NBC. So
yes, it will.
Go check it out. But
thank you, Chrissy. Thank you, James. And thanks for reaching out. I mean, look, that goes to show you sometimes the best thing to do is just see what happens, you know?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. And
all right.
Have a great evening.
Take it easy.
That was thank you guys. Like, thank you guys for watching that. That was, for me, that was really cool just to be able to sit down and finally like have a guest, like have a guest on our show, but just to hear like his life and have that background of him and his input on the take of the show was just fantastic.
Yeah, I thought his cultural background being infused with his character and the similarity was something new, and it was cool. Powerful stuff. So fine. So nice.
It would have been like really cool to like have him on with us live. First off, I probably would have been a little bit more freaked out being it live with everybody, and then just us 3 secluded. So we might do our interviews like that. We might do our interviews like pre-recorded. But also with actors, we have to understand that their lives are always busy. They could get a call and they could have to go film. And I was lucky enough to be able to get him on. But like he said, guys, like always believe in what you guys want to do, because it just takes one simple question and it could go on. But that wraps up our Law and Order recap. I totally loved it. We'll have a whole new plan for next time, a whole new way of what we're going to do. We are sitting down. The show is just in its trial phase. We're still editing. We are still changing. Chrissy knows how stressed out I was trying to film this episode, do this. But we are now moving on. Like I said, every week we are doing a Big Brother recap. Chrissy.
Not me.
Big Brother.
Change it.
Wait. Oh, you're trying to take a screenshot? Oh, there you go.
No, you're good.
Oh, Big Brother 23 premiered last night. And it was a great show. We got some feedback last time that just us talking about Big Brother, we need to have people on to discuss with us.
That was just
don't set people out like that, Chrissy.
We love you, James and Dad. Go watch Big Brother.
But so actually moving on from this week forward, we're going to actually have someone on with us to discuss Big Brother. It's a lot of our friends who watch Big Brother religiously and love this show. We have our friends Kevin and Allie. They're going to be coming on, I think, one week to discuss with us. Our friend is going to be on next week. And then we have our friend Lana. So shout out to Lana, Kevin, Allie, who also is going to be coming on because she also hosts, just like Kevin and Allie, who host
definitely
their
coming
own.
on.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
No, the viewers that night are.
But if you guys know someone who's a Big Brother fan, or if you're a Big Brother fan, come on, talk to us. Oh, hey, Pranoy just messaged us saying sending out love and support to James and Chrissy. My dad saying you guys both did a great job for interviewing. Great interview. My mom even just said good jobs on that interview. And I have a text message right here that says good job on that interview. So thank you guys. Like, that was awesome.
Yes,
but Big Brother
James that arranged that and came up with the questions. He killed it.
And then not me stressing out the entire time leading up to it.
He was so stressed, and I was like, "You're gonna be fine."
But Chrissy, let's talk about Big Brother 23. First off, our draft got changed because Christy had to go out because she ended up getting COVID, which was
I feel so bad for her.
Which is really disappointing. So I really hope she's on next season. But Claire is in, and by default, Claire got put on my team. So, but your thoughts on that live move-in, Chrissy? Like the actual moving in. We're going to talk about the challenges in a few, but that actual moving in process of 4 guys, 4 girls, 4 guys, 4 girls. Like, what was your thoughts on that?
I was fine with it, but the girls should have gone first. Ladies first, always. CBS, you're doing better. You're doing better, but ladies first.
So this year,
fine.
CBS had a contract that they had to follow that their cast has to be diverse. It has to be half and half, which I think we got a really big clue of because we found out that is it Hannah is
Indian descent and
Indian African. She's a South African Indian born girl, which I would have never known that. And just all around really good. But we get introduced to the players. So we get introduced to Travis, Derek F, Frenchie, and Xavier. And they go in and they do first off, Julie Chen goes, hey, when you guys go in, go immediately to the backyard to start the challenge. And what do the 4 guys do? Oh my God, look at the eviction wall. Look at the house. Like, get in the house, get to the backyard. This is a live television show.
How about Tiffany sneaking to the diary room like real quick and then being late to the challenge? That was epic. Anyway.
But I think those were pre-recorded. The diary room for the diary room.
Did she come out like kind of late though? Like she was like, "Oh, sorry."
I think she was looking around. But Julie Chen did say, "Guys, this is a live episode, so anything can happen." But they ended up starting out their first challenge. The guys did, which was a kickoff, which is what it was called, kickoff. And it was a travel poster challenge. So they had to rearrange their poster with a plexiglass to match what the poster was behind them. I thought this was a really good challenge because it gave an equal opportunity to both the men and the women. Because last year, Chrissy, if you remember, it was a moving ball puzzle, and we didn't even have winners before they had to go to commercial break because the girls could not do it, and it was not against them. It's just that it was a challenge made for men.
Not me not remembering that, but anyway.
Well, okay, but
thanks
we
for the reminder. Not me blocking out all of 22. No.
But this year, we actually did we got the challenge that was diverse. And we find out that if they win, they get to change the game and they get to play for head of household. First winner we get is Frenchie from that group. So not the person who I said was going to be evicted first going into the HOH competition. Then we're introduced to Azah, Brittany, Alyssa, and Whitney. And I think it's really cool because we also get to open up about Brittany. Because Brittany opens up that she has autism. And last year we had Ian who had autism. And I think what?
I was thinking to myself, like, I wonder why they didn't reveal that, but they didn't reveal a lot. Like their interviews and things like that were so like, I don't know, quick.
I think with us, I think with the fans, like I think they gave a little bit more to us than they will to the cast, because it's the way of who they are. Because we learned that Azah is the granddaughter of
oh my god,
the granddaughter of the what is her grandfather? Her grandfather is like right under the Prince of South Africa, and she has 100 like
130
100 something uncles and aunts and like 500 cousins. And I was like, whoa, you're learning a lot about these people tonight.
Yeah, when she said that, I was like, wow, like that was crazy.
I think what's really cool is some of these players, we have a doctor who is saying that she is a fashion designer. We have a 18-year-old college student, a graduate from college, who's saying that she's still in college. So we have all these people who are.
Sarah says she's a voice actor when she's actually chemist. Xavier said he was a model when he's actually a lawyer, I think.
Yeah.
And then Claire, you mentioned Hannah. It's these people are here to play this game.
But these this group goes in. They actually made it to the backyard quicker than the boys. Whitney ends up winning. Then we're introduced to Kylan, Christian, Derek X, and Brent. Derek X threw me for a loop because in his picture, he looked like just a scrawny little kid. And then you find out that he is a all-state athlete, tennis player. He runs basically a company like HelloFresh. And then he lies and says that he owns his own company and he stays at home.
Hey.
They go in. Christian ends up winning. So at this point, Chrissy has 3 people from her team.
Christian,
we're all now competing. Finally, we get Sarah, Hannah, Claire, and Tiffany. Diverse cast. Then we find out that Claire, and we already knew about it in the Xavier, they're both part of the LGBTQ community. But I loved Claire saying, "I will sleep with whoever. I will showmance with whoever I have to take to get me to the end."
What, Xavier is gay?
Not Xavier. I'm sorry. Derek Fraser.
Derek Fraser. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think I got Fraser and then Xavier like combined. Sorry, there's a train going by like always.
You good? I think that the LGBTQ, there's Derek, Xavier,
Sarah Beth,
Claire, and Kylan, and Sarah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not Xavier. Not Xavier.
Not Xavier.
Derek.
But Claire, someone from my team, finally wins a challenge, and Claire is the competitor. They go to a commercial break, and this entire day last night, they had been hinting at that this was the biggest grand prize in the history of Big Brother. And they drop the bomb, and Julie does it in the perfect way. She goes, every year for the last 22 seasons, the winner of Big Brother has gone home with $500,000. But this year, that's about to change because we are adding $250,000 on. So the winner is going home with $750,000.
That's a lot of money for just being in the house.
Like, I honestly thought that, and we'll get to this in a little bit, I honestly thought that the Julie's twist was going to involve the money. Like, I honestly thought that she was going to say whoever wins first head of household, they have the decision, keep head of household or add $250,000 to the pot. Now, as myself, I would have added $250,000. I would have been like, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think it was H the first week.
Yeah. So then we get the teams. We have Team Frenchie, who is the Jokers. So it's Azah, Brittany, Derek F, and Frenchie. Team Whitney, who are the Aces, which are Brent, Derek X, and Hannah. Team Christian, the Kings, who are Alyssa, Xavier, and Sarah Beth. And Team Claire, the Queens, who are Kylan, Tiffany, and Travis. The first head of household competition takes place, and it's a house of cards. I honestly thought that they were going to actually have to stack actual playing cards. And I went, ooh, this is going to be a challenge. And Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Not that giant ass playing card coming out of the ceiling and knocking Christian's people over. But I thought that too. I thought it was gonna be in Survivor
even Claire in the live and the live feeds at night during the night, she said, I honestly thought they were going to be individual playing cards, and she was like, "There's no way I'm doing this. I'm never getting this." But it turns out that we get Team Frenchie in first. So Frenchie won the head of household competition. Then followed by Team Claire, then Team Whitney, followed by finally by Team Christian. But we find out that Team Christian is the have-nots for the week, meaning that they have to eat slop. Interesting. I feel like. Go ahead.
I was excited to see the Jokers, right? Frenchie's team, win, because just on first glance, it didn't seem like they would be like the most physical team, but the way they structured these challenges gives everybody, and the way they created these teams, like with the
the
roulette thing.
So I noticed this a lot, and I have a feeling, and I got this and someone else put this down, and I picked it up. A lot of our favorites threw their competitions. A lot of them.
Oh, 100%. Like
the ones who said
so hard.
The ones who said they didn't want it, the ones who said they wanted it, are the ones who won it. The ones who said they didn't want it, they never won it. They all threw it. Like Azah really threw hers.
Azah made it very clear she was throwing it. I'm pretty sure that if I were to rewatch it, like Azah knew how to solve that and just flipped it back. Derek threw that. I want to say Tiffany might have thrown that.
Did you see Azah in her video as they were walking out? She goes, first head of household, I'm targeting them. And now she's on the first head of household.
Pretty sure they're aligned, at least for now.
And she's the first person picked.
That he picked.
In the teams. But like I said, Team Frenchie does win, so that the Team Jokers wins, meaning that Azah, Brittany, and Derek F, as well as Frenchie, are safe this week. And the have-nots are Team Christian, the Kings. Now, they go to commercial break, and in the middle of commercial break, before they go, Julie goes, they are safe for now. And I went, for now? For now? What do you mean for now?
Oh, yeah, you texted me. You were like, what is
for
this?
now? But we find out, we come back. Julie, this season is a bunch of risk and rewards. Every challenge or any position comes with a offer. And every reward has a risk that goes along with it. So the very first one, she made Frenchie get up behind a pair of dice, a pair of poker chips, and she looked at Frenchie and she goes, you have an option to make, an offer that we don't think you'll refuse. And she goes, if you do this challenge where you have to throw 2 giant dice and land it on a board, if they both of them stay in 45 seconds, your entire team is safe for 2 weeks. But Frenchie would only be the HOH for one of them. But then he goes, do we get still safety if I fail? And she goes, we don't need your decision. You talk on it and we'll be back. Well, when she comes back, we find out that if he fails, Claire becomes the new head of household.
Oh yeah.
But they end up not taking it, and Team Frenchie is the head of household, and his team is safe. But the live feeds opened up, and so I was watching the live feeds, and we already have an alliance forming between Frenchie, Alyssa, Whitney, Brittany, Tiffany, and Claire, and maybe Derek F. So I think that's very interesting as well. What are your thoughts on the opening season? How do you think it's going to happen? And give us your draft points, because you said that you have draft points.
I have. Okay, so I have so many thoughts. I'll give just a few. So I think, Frenchie initially, like when we drafted, we were like, oh, he's like, like a Southern dude. I'm not sure. A lot of people were talking some smack, I guess. I guess he's really big in this like Big Brother Twitterverse, and therefore like that group of people really wants to see him succeed. Now, I did kind of enjoy watching him in the episode, but hearing and seeing what's going on the live feeds, like maybe he's playing a little too hard. Maybe he's aligning with too many people, because it's like I mean, not that I have the prowess to talk on anything. I've won
Yeah.
no games this year, but like, yeah. So he didn't accept that challenge and like played that safely, which in my opinion was the right call. But then maybe he should have thrown that little fake challenge thing where he just she was like,
But
yeah.
I think it's kind of cool though that he would have got safety for his team for 2 weeks, but I think if he had gotten safety, it would have put a target on their back.
Yeah, I've enjoyed watching him kind of. I feel like he's probably going to get knocked down. Like there was just a lot going on for him yesterday and last night, and I think maybe he just played into it a little bit too much. Maybe he's not used to being up that late. But I don't know. I find him interesting. I've been a Tiffany stan since the minute like her bio was released. She was amazing.
Do you right now? Do you have someone? I think it's gonna be Tiffany. But do you have someone that you think just based on their very first night and their interactions with the house guest that they have the potential to go all the way?
There's a couple. I have a couple people that I see going far. Tiffany is one of them. Kyland is another one. The possibility of the trio of Claire, Hannah, and Azah. I see that possibly doing something, but not all three of them could, like at one point they're gonna have to drop somebody.
Yeah.
I think it's really too soon to say like this person's winning the whole thing. But I see like
I have a feeling that the more we get in and after we see these next episodes on Wednesday, on Sunday and Wednesday, we'll have a more clear understanding. Because first off, we'll have our first nominations. Who do you think he's nominating?
Christian and Travis.
You think so?
He said that he didn't want to target anybody of color or a woman. So he could target Brent, but their conversation on the feed, like literally the one conversation I watched on my lunch break at work today, him and Brent talking and like really connecting over their deaths in their families. Like I just don't think he's gonna put him up.
And I think Brent has this. We're about to end this podcast soon for the night, but I think Brent has a very good connection because there was a part in the feed, and I really like the fact what they're doing with the feeds this year is they're cutting the feeds every like 45 minutes for like 5-10 minutes. Because Julie Chen even said like, don't be on here all night, like get sleep, like do something else, like don't be on here. So they're cutting the feeds and saying, "Well,
I did not watch that crap all night last night." Some people,
but
with that.
Brent and Derek F kind of got into like a little bit of like a not a bromance, but like a really good friendship because there was one point where he was walking around and if you know Big Brother, if they ever say a cuss word on live television, it automatically cuts to a fish tank full of fishes. And there was a part in the feed where they were talking and Brent goes, "I really love this effing house," and without skipping a beat, Derek went, "Fish tank." And they just started laughing. So I think like I think they're gonna get along. So I can't tell. I can't tell yet, but I think once we get a whole week in and we have our first eviction, that will set the pace for the game. We were gonna check in
though. I really don't know. Like we'll have to see. Like everybody's playing. The only person that's like under the radar at this point to me is like Sarah and maybe Hannah. Yeah. Like everybody else is just sort of like they're there to play this game.
We are going next week. We're gonna have someone on who I know will love to talk about this. So I'm going to show you guys who our next guest is.
Do you want me to read the draft real quick or no?
Oh yeah, go ahead. Tell us the
I'll go quick because I know we're getting late. Okay, so based on our draft points, this is based on like another league I'm in and seeing who gets points. So right now, Team Chrissy is winning 13-6, and that is mostly due to Frenchie, my last draft pick. So I
by default.
By default, thank you defaulting. The fact that I got second pick got me that. So basically, I got 5 points for him being the HOH, and then everybody that was a team captain, you get 2 points, and everybody that was safe for the week, you get 2 points. So I have Derek.
So I only have Azza.
You have Azza, Brittany, and Claire being safe.
No, Claire's not safe.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Claire's the team captain.
Claire isn't safe. Only Frenchie and his team are safe right now.
I'm sorry.
I got points because Claire was a captain.
You get 2 for Claire being the team captain. Yeah.
Now, I believe.
I
really hope I got points tonight because I really believe they did their wild card competition. So I really hope that I got points. But we're going to have someone on next week who is a friend of Chrissy and ours. I actually got to visit him when I was in Florida and Orlando. We went to Universal. We'll talk about Universal. We'll talk about Disney. We'll play some games. There's a really cool twist that I have going on for next week that I'm excited to. I haven't told any of them about, and I won't tell any of them about. But it's Disney night. We are going to be hanging out with our friend Ian. He is going to be talking about his life, how we met. We're going to talk about our past, how we got to know each other. We're going to play some games. We're going to talk about Disney and Universal, like I said. It is a Disney night, so all of us will have something on or have something in our photos that represent Disney.
Look at his little pizza shirt. We love it.
I am excited for this. I know he is, but that is going to be next week on July 15th at 7/6 Central. Chrissy, go ahead and real quick. Ryan Ferguson. Do you know Ryan Ferguson? He said fun stuff.
Yeah, that's shout out Ferginators, Ferginator Nation. Yeah, he's a new really good friend of mine from the org community. He's really creative, likes to make up like really fast games. He also is very active in his church ministry and just a really, really good kid.
Chrissy, if you want to go ahead and plug your social media real quick.
My Twitter is at Chrissy_Ross. My Instagram is at CRossMac_4.
I don't have Twitter.
I guess you can follow Bear Essentials, like I always say. We have discount swim going on right now. I'm not going to wear my bikini that I bought, but maybe I'll just show it to you guys next time. The swim from last season is now 75 and 50% off. I don't know if you can order that online, though. You might have to come in, but you can order everything else online.
My Instagram is at jhanton. You guys can follow me. We did get some input and our subscribers for our podcast, and our Twitter links are going on right now. CJ Unedited Podcast, we've gotten more and more people liking. More subscribing to our podcast as well. If you guys are in the Kansas City area and you guys want to stop in and say hi, I work at a golf course in town. It's called Traditions at the Mules National Golf Club. I was not paid to say that. I love people.
Bear doesn't even know I'm plugging them. I should tell them.
What'd you say?
I said Bear doesn't even know that I've been plugging them. I should probably tell them. Be like, hey guys.
But most importantly, guys, thank you guys for coming on and hanging out with us. Oh, one more thing, because I told him I would do it again. If you guys want to follow Nick Cregan, follow him on Instagram and Twitter at Nick Cregan.
Free Richie.
Speaking of that, we just got another follower. Ryan Ferguson followed. Well, Ryan Ferguson followed me. Sorry. Not you, Chrissy. But I know he'll definitely follow the podcast.
We follow the podcast. We love to see it. Thanks, Ryan.
But as always, thank you guys for coming on and chatting with us tonight. Like I said, we've been thinking about revamping the way we do our second Tuesdays. So stay tuned for August. Actually, August is going to be a whole new idea because we have a couple of days that we're off and we are going to be changing things up for the month of August, just with school coming up. But join us again next Thursday at 7/6 Central for another episode of CJ Unedited. But until then, guys, be safe, be happy, and until next time, live your life 100% unedited. Good night.